Okay, so we come on to the budget. So in this instance, I'm going to make the budget for these 4 shows that I'm putting on in the Southwest. My total project budget is 4,725. Now, you don't necessarily have to answer that question first because you will do your budget down below here and you'll find the figure for how much money you are how much money you expect the whole project to cost, which you can then populate above. Just make sure that the figures match. I have put the total request amount from PRS Foundation at 2,250. I've done that as a pure example of the average amount we expect each grant. Sorry, not each grant, but the average amount we expect the grants to be. Of course, they can range from £750 to 3,500, but purely as an average example, for this application, I am asking for 2,250. I have not put that there are any other private sources. We think this is going to be very unlikely that you're going to have funding from anywhere else. So please don't think that we expect you to have funding elsewhere. If you do, then great, tell us about it. But it is not an expectation by any means. An example, a chance here to tell us why you need the funding support. So again, how this is going to help your event to break even and to help you step up to another level and to help build your network and to help build your career. And then for the budget chart here, there are lots of different lines that you can fill in. You do not have to fill in every single one. This application is quite basic, and I've just done, in terms of artists, I've said that for ease, I'm just saying that there's 4 headliners that are all getting the same fee, and it's £400. So the total amount there is 1,600. You have the chance to say if the funding from the ECPF will support this, and you can select yes or no. You can see further down where I've got production costs here. I've put that the production is included in the hire. Obviously, that's not always the case, but in this example, it is, and I've selected the no here. So marketing, as I say, try and make sure that is no more than 20% of the expected ticket sales. So in this case, I'm saying that marketing will be £500, and I'm adding as much detail as I can into the details here. We like details, it shows us that you've thought through and that you've got the actual costs. All costs aren't usually round numbers. If you've done your research, they're usually different figures. So it's a good chance for you to tell us that you've done your research and you know what things are going to cost by putting as much detail in here. So again, for this example, I'm keeping it straightforward, and I'm saying that additional staffing is covered within the venue and that PRS for music costs are covered in the venue. Obviously, PRS for music is traditionally 4.2% of ticket sales. We will be covering more, we're talking about early career promoters here. So, we expect that that will be part of the masterclass and wraparound support that will be based around PRS for music support. PRS for music and insurance here, they are not eligibility questions. They're purely asking if they are part of your budget. You will not be made ineligible if you are not putting these costs in, but here are some examples. Insurance costs, I've just put in some rough figures. It might be that you hold policies that cover you for the whole year, and you are saying that these two, these are proportions of the cost that would cover those events. And I put here that this fund would not be covering that. And as a little extra thing, there's a chance to put audience access costs in. I've put here that we're going to create a calm space for neurodivergent audience members with fidget toys and accessible lighting and things. I put £200 in for that. This is purely an example. You're not obliged to have audience access costs. However, obviously we advise everybody to make sure their events are as accessible as possible. We've talked about there being additional access top-ups for artists and for yourselves. If you have access needs yourselves, that can go on top of the grant ask, but we do expect that any audience access costs would be within the grant itself, which is why this is linked here. So this is not the place to add any access costs for your artists or for yourself. So that shows that the cost so far are 4,375. And then there's a chance to put other capacity building exercises into your budget here. So we do expect that you would take yourself to one industry conference to build your network, etc. So I put in the classic Great Escape there, £150. There will be other conferences that are much more suitable for your genre and your world. So whatever you feel is necessary. Again, it's not an eligibility factor, but we do it. We do want to support those who are asking for support for themselves as well. So it does help your application if you are considering these things. And then also we're going to have some mentorship from Dave Bloggs at A1 Promotions, who charges £50 for 4 sessions. So the cost of that is £200. There's chances to add other items, promoter brand development, and any membership fees for music trade bodies as well. So you can see the total is £350. So added together with my show cost, that is 4,725 as my overall expenditure, which is what I was saying earlier about making sure this figure at the top matches here. So 4,725, and the ask is for 2,250, which I'll show you makes the balanced budget. So the overall expenditure is 4,725. When we come onto the income, I've made an estimate that we're going to sell 495 tickets at £5, which equals £2,475. I've done that on an estimate of 70% of capacity. The idea of the Early Career Promoter Fund is that the grant helps you to reach the break-even point. So we ask you not to, or we recommend that you don't, make your break-even point sell out. Make it as modest and realistic as you can. So we recommend 70 to 80%. If you happen to make a profit, then we would discuss with you what you should do with that money, and the options maybe to pay yourselves fairly, to make sure that other stakeholders are paid fairly, like the artists and anyone else. Or you may choose to reinvest the money in future grassroots music events, which we would of course support very much. So we've got £2,475 in ticket sales, and the grant amount is for 2,250, and the event breaks even. You'll see here the expenditure and income should be 0, and here it is, it's 0. If your figure is not 0, you will need to rejig the figures so that it is breaking even, and you won't be able to submit your application until that is the case. You're asked about the in-kind contributions and expenditures relating to the application. I have put here as an example that there's £750 of in-kind support, because I spoke to my venues and they all wanted to support a good cause of our activities with reduced rates. So full cost of venues would have been 2,700, but we got a discount of that. It's purely an example. This fund is to, give life to the grassroots music ecosystem. So we don't necessarily want you to be asking venues for reductions, but purely an example. Maybe there's, your production company bringing the PA in for whatever, are giving you discount or anything like that. It's just good to let us know what the in-kind support is. And then we've touched on the access related top-up funding. So this is for those with access needs who may be yourselves. They may be the artists or crew members or anybody that you are working with. So there's some examples of exactly what that might be here, and also includes promoters or artists who incur additional childcare or child giving costs to take part excuse me, in the funded events. Funding decisions will not be affected by additional accessibility support requests, and if selected, an appropriate offer amount will be pledged. This is not seen by the advisors or the panelists that make the decisions. This is purely for you to let us know what you might need. So you're asked if this is relevant to you, and in this point I've said yes it is, because I'm booking artists from underrepresented backgrounds. I anticipate the need for access budgets to make accommodations, for accessible dressing rooms and other things, and have requested amount of I think £500 as a mock example there. Of course, you're not obliged to ask for additional access money, but that is the an example of if you were in an ideal world, you would have, you know, confirmed activities and a firm idea of who your artists are. So you'd say, I do need access costs. Yeah, so that is the budget form. We're getting towards questions. I'm sure there are a few. I think after that, we're just talking monitoring, are we? Yeah, so I won't go over the monitoring. It's very straightforward. You will know the answers to these questions. Once everything is filled in, you will have the opportunity then to return to the summary page. And providing everything is in order, you can submit your application and that will go through. So that is the application form. I'm just going to return very